Did you ever feel like there's more to life than just waking up to a job that you hate? After years of climbing the corporate ladder to what I thought was a successful six-figure career, especially on paper resumes, after weeks and months of fighting for promotions, getting the latest, biggest project at work, I finally decided to quit and to leave my corporate life behind. Reflecting on the last 7 years since then, it's been one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make and one of the toughest identity shifts that I had to do in my life. I also disappointed a lot of well-meaning people around me, and I took this unconventional path into the unknown. Honestly, I didn't know how it was going to turn out, or will I ever be able to build something that I'm proud of. But I feel like it's been one of the most rewarding decisions I ever made because it has allowed myself to be able to live and also create the business I love years later. Decision-making expert Annie Duke shared in her book, The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away, that quitting isn't about stopping, but actually making an informed decision that helps to lead you to more success and fulfillment. And the question I asked myself was, if I was still in the same position a year from now, what are the chances that I will be happy with that decision? And for me, that was nearly 0%. Versus the other option of leaving my job and finding something that's better. Would I be happier with that decision? And for me, that was a 50-50% chance. For me, 50 was definitely better than 0. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 things that helped me to make the decision in order to leave my job that wasn't fulfilling. And I hope that this helps you too. The truth is that a lot of us have been conditioned to think if we leave that job that we don't like, then it's going to be the end of the world. I definitely had that fear because I took so much courage for me to dive into that void of having no backup plan. But what I realized was the opposite, that actually a job is not the more secure option. What really changed my mind was an incident that happened at the place I was working at the time. There's a friend of mine who I met through work. She's a couple years ahead of me. She's highly skilled at her job. She was also the head of her team. And she decided to get married and was pregnant with her first child. She went on to maternity leave. And when she came back, a few days later, when I came into work, I realized that her desk was empty. So a few hours later, our managers got us into a room and he told us that she has been let go and someone within the team will step up internally to take on her role. And this made me realize at the time that there's no job security or loyalty when you work for a company. Unfortunately, I am just a number on a spreadsheet and I can be replaced at any moment in time. And as someone who wants to build my career but also my family one day, this left a terrible impression on me in terms of how I want to build my ideal life and also career in the future. But what I also realized in this process is that this scary unknown of potentially not knowing what's going to happen after you leave your job is caused by a massive information gap that many of us don't realize the amount of options and opportunities are out there available to us because we're stuck in the daily grind of getting through the motions of in a job that we don't like. Luckily, I have friends who did this before me, and they told me that when you do leave, it will be okay, and that you will always find a way to pursue your next steps. Because the other option is to spend my short life regretting that another year had passed, and I didn't do anything to change that situation that I was in. And I can't stress this enough, is that giving yourself the permission to be detached from all outcomes, the time spent in reflection and deep thinking, and spending time on activities that's authentically you is probably one of the best gifts that you can ever give yourself in your lifetime. New ventures and paths will find you because the world is a lot bigger than what we know in our own industry, in our own jobs. There's this availability bias in psychology where our brain can trick us into making decisions based on what's available in front of us, rather than what's actually true. This is what I realized when I left my job, is that there are opportunities and industries out there that I didn't even know existed, and eventually carved out a unique path for myself because I was able to be open to all possibilities and telling people that I'm willing to try them. So truth number 1 is that your job is not always the more secure option, and you'd be surprised what's currently out there at the moment. One of my most favorite quotes of all time is from the book Psychology and Money. Money and status isn't as valuable as you think. The most valuable thing in your life is freedom. The freedom to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, as long as you want, is priceless. When I was younger, I was blinded by the perception of success. Is that we need to have money and status in order to look important and successful in front of people. You can show off your wealth through having a bigger house, having more expensive cars. I remember so clearly when I was 10 years old, I was walking with my mom in New York City, in downtown Manhattan, and she was pointing out all the important city workers that were going past us in their suits and high heels, and that she'd be so proud of me one day when I work in one of these big offices. And I get that because that's all she knew what success is. and she worked so hard on several different low-wage jobs in order to raise us as a family. So that made me go after the highest paying industries and ended up in a job that I wasn't passionate about. And also end up in a situation of having bounded by golden handcuffs. This is an industry term used for lucrative bonuses when you have to wait around for a certain amount of time in order to receive it. And if you leave early, then you lose out on all the money. But what I quickly found out is that if you're driven by money and status, working the job that you hate can cost you so much more than what you're paid. I was extremely stressed out and unhappy. And even when my workday was over, I would burst out crying in the evenings and weekends when I'm home. I was extremely unhealthy and low on energy because I was eating takeouts all the time and really just going through the motions because of having no motivation to actually get through every day. I was burned out because I had to cancel my vacation several times due to the lack of people in my team. And that mental toll that it took on me has meant that my mental health was hitting rock bottom. And sometimes I struggled to get out of bed in the morning because I had nothing to look forward to. So I realized that having the time and the freedom to do what I wanted was worth so much more than the money and the status that I was building. It was so incredibly hard to walk away from that, something that I've spent years building to look successful in front of people. But by doing the reflection and also the deep internal work on myself, I realized that my true passion is to help others live a fully meaningful and creative life doing what they love. Through the lessons I learned in personal growth, marketing, and business over the years. I couldn't connect the dots before, but it's all making sense now looking back in the digital marketing training company that I created to help brands and individuals reach global audiences, in my courses and my workshops, and also on the content on this YouTube channel. And finally, I was able to redefine success based on my own criterias, rather than the expectations of others. When you find what it is that you want to dedicate your freedom to, instead of simply being paid for your time, there's this greater purpose that pulls you towards that mission. And you'll be able to make that decision to choose the freedom over the conventional version of success. So truth number 2 is that freedom has more value than money and status. But despite all of this, I think one thing that people don't really talk about when it comes to leaving your job is that if you're looking to make that transition, then you need to make the preparation now. And that is, despite having no backup plan, it's important to make sure you have a financial cushion that you can rely on to give yourself the time to breathe and to have that creative freedom to explore what it is that you want. One of the things I'm really grateful for is that I had the foresight at the time to put away a little bit of money every single month to save up 6 to 9 months of living expenses that I can rely on while I was looking for my other options. I was working the career. I was thinking, there's something else I want to do. I want to kind of create something on my own terms. And because you have that motivation and drive, you just think about how much can I put away every month from my paycheck to kind of save for that, I guess, rainy day or runway that's coming up. It gave me the freedom and time to explore and find options that may or may not be right for me. And rather than feeling the pressure of the financial burden and then giving up too soon. Because the truth is, real life still exists. You have mortgage payments, you have monthly bills, and if you have a kid, there's also childcare costs to think about. And I myself with a toddler, I can attest to how high that could be in the middle of all your other bills that you have to pay. And for me, I added up all the monthly costs that I might have on a monthly basis that I can't cut out, and then really being ridiculously conservative on how long it might take me to go to the next role, the next option, the next bit of my path. And from that point on, use that as the base of how much I need to save up in order to leave my current job to make sure I'm not leaving without any financial backup plan. So I think it's a really good idea to take an honest look at your lifestyle at the moment. Is there anything that you can cut out that's not essential to help you save money during this exploration phase after you quit? And you add up all the base level living expenses that you might have at the moment, and then really being very conservative of how long it might take you. Could be 9 months or maybe even a year to give yourself enough cushion of savings being put away so that when you do that jump and that transition, you have enough time to give yourself the freedom to explore what it is that you want. Also, one thing that's a really good idea is, can you think about any other side jobs or freelance work that you can take up while you're in this transition period? This can also add on to your existing savings to help give you that more safer mind to explore this period of freedom, to explore what it is that you really want to pursue. Also, despite this video all about having no backup plan when I did this, I think one thing that people didn't realize, or I didn't realize at the time, is that your decision to leave your job isn't always permanent. If you leave on the good terms, your employer will more likely to hire you back than hiring someone new. Because oftentimes it's more expensive to train a new employee up than having someone who already knows how everything works. So hopefully you don't come to this decision, but just know that in the back of your head, if things that really don't work out, you always have another option. And I just want to say that the ability to make this very incredibly tough decision to know when to walk away is one of the hardest things to do. I weighed up my options and never regretted the day that I handed in my notice. I want you to know that no one can accurately predict the future. You can only make the decision based on what you know right now. Put in calculated risk and trust in the process to give yourself the freedom to explore and pursue what you love. At the end of the day, we have our own unique stories, backgrounds, and journeys. This is my journey and how I made the decision to eventually pursue my own version of success. This may or may not be similar or different to what you're going through right now, but I hope that this video can help you by sharing my own decision-making process and inspiring to think about your next steps in your journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.